Good morning. We are BBC School Reports and we're here today to inform you upon the latest issues. I'm Maisie and with me today, Isabel.
Thank you. Today on the news, successful author visits Thorndon School, the discovery of gravitational waves, charities, help for everyone, a local bakery and their business, EU referendum, and to top it off, a trip to Kenya and Eastleigh Football Club on their way to a new stadium.
Now for the latest news. David Cameron has set out to review the benefits of the UK staying in Europe after rumours claiming that he's focused too much on the risks of leaving. A mother from Southampton, a fan of the football team, says she's unable to take her 5-year-old son, who suffers from cerebral palsy, to matches because the disabled toilets are not suitably equipped for his needs. After writing to Ralph, Saints chairman, plans for future facilities are in process.
Thorndon School receives a visit from the well-known author Bally Wright yesterday afternoon. Here's the video of what he had to say to our reporters Madison and Lauren.
I'm Lauren and this is Madison, and we're going to ask a few questions. Okay, so who inspired you to become an author?
I always say the biggest inspiration is it's pretty much every author you've ever read, but the two big ones for me, when I was junior reader, it was like Roald Dahl, and then when I got into secondary school, and this was my actual hero, it's a lady called Sue Townsend, who's from Leicester like me, and she kind of made me realise that somebody like me from Leicester could think about being an author because she was super successful, do you know what I mean? So she was like my role model.
Okay. Who was the author you were most excited to meet?
Oh, probably Benjamin Zephaniah. It's got to be said. He's
I've heard of him.
dreadlocks, tall, skinny, vegan, refugee boy.
Oh,
teacher,
yeah, we read that in English.
Yeah, because I knew who he was before I became an author. So I'm a big reggae fan, and he's what they call a dub poet. So he used to set poetry to instrumental reggae music, dub reggae music. And I also knew he opened for Bob Marley in 1978, and I love Bob Marley. He's one of my big heroes here. So when I was going to first meet him, I was really like, oh my God, it's Benjamin Zephaniah.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it sounds weird because I've worked with Michael Morpurgo, and I know him enough to call him Michael. But it's really cool to meet him. Jacqueline Wilson, who I've worked with a lot. These are all fantastic authors, great people, but also they're big names.
Yeah.
And you kind of start working with them and working alongside them, you feel like a bit of a fraud. Do you know what I mean? So, and Michael Connolly, actually, who's a crime writer, adult crime writer from the United States, whose book I reviewed for Radio 5. I used to do book reviews for Radio 5 many years ago.
Okay. Do you feel like the views like you've got that you put in your books, do you feel like they've gotten across?
I think so. I think it's about getting whether young readers and adult readers that read them actually just ask questions. And I think you do. I think if you enjoy a story, you'll naturally ask them questions, otherwise you wouldn't enjoy it. That's why we turn a page, because we want to know the answers to the questions we're asking, who, what, where, why, when, how. So yeah, I don't. The idea is not to change people's attitudes; it's to make people question how they see the world and people in the world. And then if that leads them to, for example, not be racist when they were in the past, that's great. But that'd be really. If I sat there thinking this book is going to make people not racist, that'd be a really weird way to be.
Yeah.
And it's not about that. I just want people to question, understand, talk to each other, and get that whole empathy, sympathy thing going on. Because that's what it's about, really.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any authors that you want to meet in the future?
Right now, maybe. I mean, it'd be nice to meet J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Just because it's J.K. Rowling. She's J.K. Rowling. It'd be nice to meet her. But I'd love to meet. I'd love to meet is Roald Dahl's Ghost.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool if you were just sitting there reading a Roald Dahl book, or just thinking he just came and sat down. Because I want to know whether he's as grumpy as everyone says he was.
Yeah.
There's these rumours that he's quite grumpy, and I like the idea that he was grumpy and didn't really like kids, apart from those in his own family. But wrote the amazing kids books. I don't know if that's true. It's just a rumour that you hear.
Yeah. He's such a good writer, isn't he?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I get very annoyed when certain people claim and try to copy him and try to be new him. It really, 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 really upsets me, because there won't be another Roald Dahl, and there should never be. Just like there will not be another Shakespeare, there won't be another Dickens, there won't be another Sue Townsend, there won't be another Jacqueline Wilson. These people are individuals. So yeah, it's. But But yeah, apart from J.K. Rowling, I can't think. I mean, I'm lucky because I get to meet them all now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So if you say, okay, here's, I don't know, for argument's sake, Suzanne Collins, right? I've never met Suzanne Collins. We live in different countries, but there is a possibility that at some point I may bump into Suzanne Collins or something. I may not. But yeah, be rolled dolls, ghost.
Yeah. As a teenager, did you enjoy reading?
Loved it. I mean, I was reading by year 9, or up until year 9, probably 3 books a week. I mean, I was taking books, I was reading them overnight and going in bleary-eyed the next morning. Going, can I have the next one? So I was a massive reader. And then when I started reading fiction and non-fiction together, it kind of exploded. I was just, so yeah, massive reader. You can't be an author, you can't be a writer of any type that's any good without being a massive reader. It's not possible.
Yeah. So I don't do a lot of reading, but then like hearing other people's like your books that you've written, it makes me kind of want to read them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea is to give the books a chance. If you look at any random shelf, like the ones behind us at your school, for every book that you pick up that you don't like, there's going to be another one. Maybe every 2 that you don't like, there's going to be the one that you do.
Yeah.
The question is to persevere with it and find it and understand how important the reading is. Just the act of reading and how it exercises your brain and makes your brain more powerful, which is the only way to be successful. The only surefire way to be successful. You could win the lottery, but then you could get hit by a falling piano.
True.
So, yeah, brain power, intelligence is the way forward.
Is there anything you can tell us about your new book?
I'm doing a collection for Puffin Books. I'm looking for stories from Indian fairy tales and Indian folk tales, which are part of my mum's tradition. I mean, I'm of Indian heritage, but I'm British. I was born in Britain. So the idea is to take stories from the Indian heritage that haven't really been published before, because they're just oral stories. So people tell you what they're about, but they don't actually expand on the stories. So I'm collecting probably about 20 of those. I'm putting those together, which I'm really excited about, because that's not something I've really thought about doing before. And then my latest young adult novel, I mean, I'm working on 2. One is about a girl who's got a really hard life, and the other one is just a crazy story inspired by some reggae music, like Bob Marley songs and a few others. It's about a boy who's called Squirrel, and he sees everything that goes on in the town that he lives in. It's a village, but the village is owned by a landowner, so everyone works for him. And his ancestors were slave traders, and the boy Squirrel, his father and grandfather were rebelled as slaves. So I'm telling the story backwards. So you get the most recent story first, and if it works, there'll be 2 sequels. And it's kind of set in the Caribbean, kind of set in the southern states, kind of set, but I'm going to add a bit of magic to it as well. The first one starts with a Rastafarian that turns up, because the Rastafarians used to be termed black heart men, as in people thought they were evil. This is years ago, long before Bob Marley was even born, or when he was a kid. So the idea of outsiders, it's exploring our fear of outsiders. So it's got a kind of modern tinge to it, but it's just a bit fun. It's like a western almost.
Okay.
So there's an evil town, mayor, sheriff, there's the kid, but the kid is going to be the hero. So.
Okay. That's all the questions we have.
Thank you very much.
It's all right. You're very welcome. It's a real privilege being asked to be interviewed and ask questions. So yeah, thank you very much for letting me do that. So.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have Emily, Lauren, Pascal and Kobe informing us upon the exciting proof of the gravitational waves, and also diving into the depth of another wonderful charity, Cancer Research. They are the world's leading charity dedicated to beating cancer through the research, and have already saved millions of lives by discovering new ways to prevent, diagnose and treat cancer. Thanks to their help, the survival rate has doubled over the last 40 years.
Yesterday we went to Southampton University to interview Professor Niels Anderson about the discovery of gravitational waves. Today we went to Southampton University to interview Professor Niels Anderson about the discovery of gravitational waves.
Hello, we are at Southampton University to learn more about the new discovery of the gravitational waves.
Einstein published his theories about general relativity in 1915, which have only just been discovered in February.
We're here with Professor Niels Anderson, who has been researching general relativity, and thank you for letting us interview you today.
Oh, no problem.
So what are gravitational waves?
Alright, so where do we begin? So when Einstein wrote down his theory of gravity, which we call general relativity, one of the key ideas is that he made space and time flexible so they could bend. And then basically he explained gravity in terms of a force, but essentially in terms of the shape of space and time. So it became a geometric theory. So what you need to worry about is the geometry of space and time. And then, because space and time are flexible, you can imagine when things move, the space and time ripple. Essentially, are tiny little waves that move away from the region where, say, two stars go around one another. And that's what we call gravitational waves.
How did Einstein predict these waves?
Okay, so about a year after he wrote down the theory itself, and when he wrote down the theory, he had a couple of predictions as to what the theory said that was different from Newton's gravity. About a year later, he realized that one particular set of mathematical solutions to these equations were these waves, that they should be gravitational waves. But then it's a very long and complicated story, because at that time he wasn't convinced that these would be real waves. And also at that time there was no chance that they would ever be detected, because the technology was so complicated. There was no way one could see how you'd actually do this. And so then Einstein wavered to and fro a couple of times up until the time that he died, and basically he wasn't sure they would be real or not.
People ever doubt Einstein's theories?
Oh yes. I mean, for very different reasons. The idea itself that time slows down when you're closer to the ground than when you're up in the sky and so on are kind of crazy. They don't, make intuitive sense. They go against our everyday experience. Moving clocks are slow, which is a part of special relativity. Again, it's a complicated thing to grasp. And the other thing with general relativity is that people couldn't see why you needed such a complicated mathematical construction, because the equations can be very, very complicated, involving, more or less mathematical mumbo jumbo that the typical scientists of the day didn't know. And so people weren't sure. And as I said, the technology wasn't really there until something like the late 1960s, early 1960s to the end of the 1960s, for these things to really be tested with some precision. So there was a lot of discussion. Gravitational waves in particular actually lasted past Einstein's death in 1955 until the end of the 50s, when people started actually convincing themselves that these are real waves. We should be able to measure them, at least in principle. But there were still people, as recently as, this year, I guess, that didn't believe that these were going to be found because they weren't real.
What instruments actually detect these waves?
Okay, so the first detection of gravitational waves was by the LIGO instruments. So LIGO stands for Laser Interferometric Gravitational Wave Observatory. So these are incredibly sensitive laser interferometers. So what they do is they shine a very powerful laser on a splitter that splits the light into two, that go down two different arms, and then bounce off mirrors at the end and come back and recombine, and you look at the interference pattern in the waves. So
How are we affected when a ripple passes through the Earth?
okay, so the first thing to realize is that we are affected by gravitational waves all the time. And basically what a gravitational wave does, if you imagine it passing through you, it will stretch you like this, squeeze you like that, and then go like this, okay? That was something that would be rather uncomfortable if they were strong waves, but these waves are incredibly tiny. So if you imagine taking a meteor yourself, about this much, divide it into 1 million pieces, divide it into another 1 million pieces, and then another 1 million pieces, then you're almost there.
How does it contribute further to the understanding of the universe?
Okay. Well, the hope the reason for looking for gravitational waves is twofold. One is we want to know if Einstein's theory is correct. But what it does, it opens the window to what you could think of as the dark side of the universe. Black holes, dark matter, things that we can't see. And so in particular, if you look at this detection, what we learned was that a little bit more than 1 billion years ago, in a galaxy 1 billion light years away, two black holes, each weighing something like 30 times as much as the sun, came together, released about 3 times total mass of the sun, which is a lot, energy, and formed a final black hole that weighs about 60 times as much as the Sun. And so we learned from this, first of all, that double black hole systems exist. We didn't know that before. We learned that they spiral together as predicted by Einstein's theory. We learned that they form a final black hole that rotates with a particular rate, and that rotation rate may be the best observation of black hole rotation that we have. And the fact that the final phases of this signal looks like the kind of a final black hole settling down that we expect might be the strongest evidence that these are actually black holes. So it's one of these fantastic things in science where not just the first time you do something, but you also manage to do a couple of new things you didn't know or didn't expect.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. This was Lauren.
Emily and Pascal.
Thank you.
Social media. Almost all of us use it, and companies like YouTube make tremendous amounts of money from all the contributions that users make. Some users, however, have found ways to make money for themselves. We're now joined by one of these people who might just be living the dream, turning his love for playing computer games with his friends into a source of income. Daniel, thank you for joining us. So Daniel, how long have you been uploading YouTube videos?
About 1.5 years. I started at the end of 2014.
And how often do you upload these videos?
About 3 times a week.
How many people have viewed your channel so far?
At the moment I've got just over 21,000 views.
For people who are interested, what kind of equipment do you use to record your videos?
I use a capture card called the Elgato HD60 plugged into my laptop.
What types of games do you play in these videos?
Mainly Mario games like Mario Kart or Mario Galaxy.
Now, why do you record your videos?
It's a lot of fun and it's a good pastime and I've got nothing else to do.
What are your plans for the future?
Well, if the channel gets big enough, I'll do it as a full-time job. And if not, I'll just play it as a hobby.
Thank you for joining us, Daniel.
All enjoying it because this is a new culture to the Spanish one, and so people are learning different things about the English and they're comparing it with the Spanish one, and I think everyone is enjoying it.
Have you found the English families welcoming?
Yeah, I found they were really welcoming, they were very lovely.
Question. Has your English improved?
Yes, I've learned some new words, new culture, new people. Oh yeah, I guess
It's bye from us and back to the studio.
Bye.
Who is Zara?
Zara is a 13-year-old girl from Winchester who needs a blood stem cell donation to treat her leukemia. She is an incredibly intelligent, creative, wonderful person who we are trying to help, and her family are working very, very hard to try and find a matching donor for her.
What's actually wrong with her?
She has leukemia, so she needs blood stem cells from another person to get better. It is basically her immune system isn't functioning the way it should be, and that is making her very ill.
Why does Zara need a bone marrow transplant?
Well, it's a bone marrow transplant or blood stem cell donation. That her doctors, she's had chemotherapy, but her doctors believe that this is the best chance of making her better, that some blood stem cells from another person are the best way of beating the leukemia.
What happens as a donor?
It's actually quite an easy process. 90% of the time it's like giving blood. You can read a book, watch a film, talk to your friends, eat during the donation. It just takes 4 or 5 hours. 10% of the time it's a needle to the back of the hip bone, which is done under general anaesthetic, and that's usually if the patient is a very young child. And people who've had that done, they can be back at work a few days later and they say they feel like they've taken part in a tough rugby match. That's as sore it is.
Why is it so difficult to find a match for Zara?
It's because we're looking for a tissue type match, and there's so many different combinations of tissue types that people can have that it could be a case of that there's only 1 or 2 people in the world who have the same tissue type as Zara. So, and that's for any patient. So it's with 33% of donors not actually finding a match outside within their family, the rest depend on finding a match on the register as such. So that's why it's very difficult.
Why is it so important for Zara to find a match?
Well, it's simple as this. It's the one thing that will save her life.
What does Delete Blood Cancer do?
We really focus on one thing. We register and recruit potential blood stem cell donors. So we run appeals for patients such as Zara. We run advertising campaigns. We work with companies. We work with other charities to encourage more people to register as potential blood stem cell donors, but also just to raise awareness of the importance of registering and how easy it is to donate.
Why is it so important for people to get tested?
Because it comes down to this. There could be someone who's dying, whose life you could save, and you could be the only person in the world who could save their life because you're the only person who has the same tissue type as them. But you would not save their life because you're not registered. So it really comes down to that. But if you do register, you could save their life.
What age do you have to be to get tested?
You've got to be 17 to pre-register with Delete Blood Cancer UK, and then you become a fully registered potential donor at 18.
How can people find you?
They can go to our website, www.deletebloodcancer.org.uk, and you can Google that. We also work with charities to get them to signpost to us, and we hold donor recruitment events such as the one we're holding in Winchester on Saturday for Zara.
Hello, I'm Madison.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Alex.
My name's Kate. I'm the Chief Executive of Wessex Cancer Trust.
We're just going to ask Kate a few questions. How long have you been open?
This centre's been open since November, and we're already full to the brim here with people waiting to come in and get our help.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. What made you decide to start working here and start to pick up and stuff?
Basically, when you get a diagnosis of cancer, it's really, really scary, really frightening for you and your family. So what we try and do here is help people through their cancer treatment. So we don't do anything medical here, that all happens in the hospital. But what we try and do is help people understand what's happening to them and support them through the process.
It's a really nice idea.
Yeah, it's so nice. What's your favourite part about the job?
Knowing that every day when I come to work, we're helping somebody somewhere with cancer. We've got 6 of these centres, so they're happening all the time in the week, and there's always somebody coming in who desperately needs our help.
Yeah. Do you like shopping at the charity shops, and if so, why?
Yes, our charity shops are absolutely brilliant, particularly our Winchester one and our Chandler's Fall one, because we have lots of designer and nearly new items. So get yourself down there, and you can really grab a bargain, accessories and dresses and things like that.
After Asante closing, which was obviously for charity, the shop, cafe, do you ever feel threatened that the foreign arcade shops will get bigger and then this won't be able to carry on?
No, we don't. Charity shops are a little bit like eBay now. That actually, so many people on Facebook and things like that have a photo taken in a dress, wear it once or twice and don't want to wear it again.
Yeah.
So we actually find that charity shops are becoming more and more popular, particularly with women who will bring in their dress, get another one at the same time, and then bring it back a few weeks later. It's just a bit like an agency feel to them.
Yeah. Do you feel like the popularity of charity shops are in danger?
No, actually no, for the reason I've just said. I think people are really into recycling now, and why shouldn't we recycle our clothes and our bric-a-brac and our books?
Yeah, it's a very good cause. It's like a good cause.
Yeah, and actually it's the charity shops that keep centres like this going.
Yeah.
They are really important. I think people know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
That's all the questions. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Today we visited the Silver Lake Stadium to find out more. Since Eastleigh FC moved to its current location, there have been many alterations. However, now we are witnessing the biggest change to the Silver Lake Stadium ever. We spoke to Eastleigh FC to find out more. I spoke to the CEO of the club, Mark.
We're a little way off from the sort of figures coming in and starting to work at the moment. We're still liaising with the local authority, Eastleigh Borough Council, and all of the managing authorities, because there are other people involved, such as the police, fire brigade, planning regulation people, highways. So there are lots of people that we need to talk to. I'd like to think we get things started in the summer, all being well, on the first phase. But at the moment we're sort of in the hands of other people, but we'd like it to start as soon as possible.
Okay. What does the council think of the plans for the new stadium?
So far they've been very, very supportive of what we're doing. They'd like to see like a joined up plan, and that's what they've asked us for. That's why we've put together the wraparound design to show where we'd like to be at some point in the future. We're not going to be able to just draw that out of the ground and have that ready for next year or even the season after with a completely wraparound design. But what we're going to show them is if we are successful and we can keep winning football games and go up the Football League, this is where we'd like to finish the project with a wraparound design of about 9,000 to 10,000 seats.
Okay, so how much will it cost?
Oh, the $1 million question, and it's millions of dollars as well. The initial plans that we've got in are around about £5 million for the whole design, but that doesn't include the fit out. So that would be to dig holes in the ground, put the steels in, put the concrete and the seats in, and have it ready for people just to literally come and sit and watch a football game. But obviously underneath there and off the back of the stand there will be corporate facilities, restaurants, bars, gymnasiums and everything of that nature. So that's where the cost comes in. So I would imagine when it's all done and finished, if we were to go all the way around, you're looking probably more like £10 million. But we'll do it in phases, and we'll pay for it as we go, and hopefully our crowds will increase as we do the phases.
And what kind of revenue will it create for the club?
Oh well, that's a great question. And we'd like to think that it would bring enough money in to pay for itself. That's obviously the business model. But until we get the actual using old money terminology here, pounds, shillings and pence figure for what it's going to cost there and what we can provide, what facilities we're allowed to put in there, that question is unanswerable at the moment. But I would imagine we'll be striving to make it make sure that the money that goes out will be the same as the money that comes in over a period of time.
Thank you for speaking to us.
No problem.
We also interviewed Will Evans, a player at Eastleigh, and new manager Chris Todd.
So how do you feel about your recent successes in the FA Cup?
Yeah, it's a big achievement for the club. I think it's good for the fans, the chairman, all the players involved. Just gives you that extra profile as a club, and the name out there is really good for it.
What do you think of your new manager, Chris Todd?
Yeah, he's good. I really enjoy working with him because I played with him twice I think before, so I know him pretty well. It's a really good like connection between the two. I think it's good.
Has Chris changed anything in the club?
Yeah, definitely. I think just the style of play, I guess, is more. It's a lot more organised. Training's higher intensity and stuff, so it's a good changes.
Do you think it's important to have a local team?
It's very important for the community and gets people interested in sport. The sport football is very good for lots of things, you know, people mixing with each other. There's lots of bonuses, you know, why this football is good for the community and stuff like helping people out, like the hospitals and visits and stuff like that. It's all good for the club and obviously for the community.
And finally, how do you feel about the new stadium?
Well, when it comes, it'll be really nice, you know. At the moment, it's just obviously paper talk, and until it's actually the first brick goes down or the foundation goes down, then we'll start getting excited, you know. But it's something really exciting to look forward to.
Thanks for talking to us.
At the moment, the stadium consists of a grandstand, clubhouse, community stand and other small outbuildings. However, the new stadium will be much more organised. Mark talked us through the process of designing a stadium.
So we've got this basic design from a stadium in Slovakia that we just simply lifted off of the internet and gave that to our stadium designers to use as a blueprint to see if they could come up with something similar. and this is what they've come up with. So off the back of the seating area, we've got an area to house the reception area, potentially a gymnasium, bar, catering, maybe some function rooms like we have here. And hopefully what it will enable us to do is to take all of these porter cabins and temporary buildings out of action and house everything in a purpose-built, sparkly, nice facility that we can utilise, you know, as many days of the week as possible, because presently at a football club you get 23 games, 25, 26 games a season, and that's where you get your revenue from. But we have to think outside the box and make use of the facility as often as possible to you know, maximise our money that comes in. So hopefully if we've got a really nice function room, bar, gymnasium, whatever it might be, then we can earn some more money on the days when we're not playing football.
We look forward to seeing the stadium finished